And also, shout out to the soul, the pit bull, the reincarnation of John Starks, Josh Hart. We liked watching Deuce and IQ and Grimes run that three-man defensive weave. Hart has done the same and some. He's been on steroids defensively. He's been everywhere defensively. We talk about Tom Thibodeau talks about first and second efforts. This man gives you first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, eighth effort. This man is nonstop energizer bunny. His motor is insane. And it's crazy because people don't trying hard is actually an elite skill in the NBA. You have to have the stamina, the wherewithal to do it. You have to have the processing speed and defensive IQ to guard a position, then get in position to get a rebound, and then start a fast break. Hart has it all. And there was a point in the game where the Knicks had 3 turnovers in a row, and Hart, they was on their way. The Nets were on their way to scoring on a fast break. Hart leaks out and tips the ball away from Dinwiddie on a fast break attempt, gets the ball back, and the Knicks get the ball back and score and stops the bleeding. Those are those winning plays that we really need from Hart. Those are the reasons why he had the leading on-off stats when he was on the Portland Trail Blazers. And I'm so happy that when we traded away Cam and the protected first, that this is the player that we got, because he just fits perfectly for our team. Go ahead, Lee.
I'm going to start on the previous question on defense, which will bleed into my commentary on Hart. I think JLS, you made a fantastic point about the adjustments that Thibodeau made, moving more into a switch, a defensive scheme, which I think slowed down Spencer Dinwiddie. And the main component of that was replacing RJ Barrett with Josh Hart, who has the foot speed and the IQ to get under and around strings to stay on Dinwiddie, or if he's on the switch, guard whoever it is, Cam Thomas, Royce O'Neal, it doesn't matter because he's going to lock him down.
Yeah.
And I think that the other guys that are like him and that art type on other teams, like a Jared Dudley, the type of guy that was very popular in the mid 2000s, Hart is that, plus athleticism, plus skill, plus at times 3-level scoring. Like he has the grit and the capabilities of those great hard-nosed 3-and-D players, except he's like an actual NBA body player.
Yeah.
Like he has the athleticism and the length and the footwork to score 27 points at will when he's playing against certain teams. I love the pickup. I wasn't here during the last 2 games to talk about his addition to the team. I would have made that trade 10 times over. I would have included another pick. Protected pick. I would have lowered the protections to 10. There's a lot of things I would have done to get Josh Hart and his team, because he was one of the 3 guys we talked about constantly for the last 2 months on who we wanted on this team.
Yeah.
So if that's a target, you do what you can do to get him. It wasn't a surprise. It wasn't Cam Reddish last year. It wasn't super predictable like Derrick Rose the year before. This is a guy that the fans actually pinpointed, not just us. Other podcasters, Twitter was like zeroing in on Josh Hart because he fits everything. Tertiary ball handling, on-ball defense, a big wing who can guard the 2, 3, and a little bit of small ball 4s, someone who can run the break, someone who's athletic. We got all of those intangibles in one player and gave up such a value return. Here's a hot take. After Kevin Durant, considering all intangibles and all factors in, Hart was the second best pickup of a trade deadline. Better than Kyrie Irving in Dallas, better than any of the guys that the Clippers got. Because I think all the bad news, all the drama, all the baggage that comes with some of those other guys, the question marks, doesn't come with Hart. You know exactly what he's going to give you. He fits Tibbs' player profile perfectly. Continuity with Brunson, the way that he's playing with IQ off the bench. What more could you possibly ask for? He's insurance for RJ Barrett should the Knicks move on and want to include him in the package later on. There's so many boxes he checks. He's at the perfect Knicks addition. I already am in love with this guy and the way that he plays. I can't really see any Knicks fan not liking him or wanting him off the team, except for some personal narrative. And there was a lot of bad takes when we got him on Twitter.
Oh,
the very little Wi-Fi I had in Mexico City, I was seeing some of these Knicks influencers and content creators say some of the dumbest stuff about the pick that we gave up for Josh Hart. I'm like, do you understand like the accumulation of talent and what it takes to get guys of his caliber and potential and fit? It takes assets, and he's worth the assets we gave up. And thank God Leon Rose was smart enough to toss a protection. This wasn't Steve Mills' one free pick, whether it's lottery or not. This wasn't Grimes. It was Cam in a protected pick. That's a hell of a deal. Second best acquisition of the deadline. I stand by it. That's what I say.
Yo, Lee, I gotta watch Lee, man. Every time I think, Lee can't surprise you with something, Lee comes out with like a haymaker. It's like the second best. The second. What do you say? The second best trade made at the trade dedeadline.
Yes.
Besides KD.
So besides KD, number one. So I'm assuming you're like Kyrie. I guess you're thinking that Kyrie is going to leave Dallas, and that's the only reason why you're saying that.
Dallas if they clear the books, Dallas will have $53 million in available cap space this summer. Kyrie said he's not signed for less than 50 at 4 years per. That leaves $3 million in additional assets. He's not re-signing Dallas. I don't think that's where he wants to be long term. And if he does, the bar is minimum. You still have to worry about whether he's going to commit to the team, whether he's going to commit season to season, game to game. You have no idea. He's too much of a wild card. I defended his character on this show, but I don't defend him as a teammate. He's an awful teammate. He's a good person, but I don't think he is going to stay on that team long term. He's a rental. So yeah, Hart's better.
Woo. Yo, I don't even want to spend time. You throw my whole mind off of debating this whole other topic away from the post-game show. I don't know if you have anything else to say, Ryan G.
I mean, the one thing I will agree with Lee with was, because I talked about on the other podcast, about those Knicks influencers and people on Twitter, on Knicks Twitter, talking about how the Knicks gave up too much for Hart, and I was basically breaking it down, the picks and the pick that the Knicks gave up, the protection on the pick, and the different scenarios, etc. Just in case. So I'm not really going to go through that whole thing again. But yeah, Josh Hart was definitely he was excellent tonight. Like, there's no other way to describe it. And I like the fact that the Knicks brought him in for bench help, because if you look at the minutes distribution as well, I do think Thibs is doing a good job of distributing the minutes. And I think that with Hart being there, it's giving guys a chance, to rest a little bit more than normal. Because if you look at the minutes tonight, even though the Knicks are blowing out the Nets in the fourth quarter, and Thibs actually decided to bring in players off the bench for once to close out the game, because you know how Thibs is, even if the Knicks are blowing out another team, Thibs will keep the starters out there, and have them play extra minutes. But even tonight, like, Randall only 32 minutes. Like, if I have to choose like a range for Randall to play, like 32 minutes, I think is a reasonable range.
Facts.
Just Brunson, 35 minutes, again, a reasonable range. And then the bench players, Hart and Quickly, 27 minutes each. Hardesty throwing 23 minutes. Even Toppin got 15 minutes, even though some of those minutes did come in garbage time. But I have to definitely big up Thibs for the minutes distribution. And Lee pretty much said everything about Hart today. I really can't add more to what Lee said, but I will throw this out here. Watching Hart play, it makes me even more eager for Mitch to come back.
Yeah,
because I want to see what happens when Mitch is on the court.
Absolutely.
Manning the paint with Josh Hart out there and either IQ or Grimes out there with them. I think that's going to be one hell of a defensive unit, and the Knicks are going to be crazy on defense.
Let's go.
Listen, right now, Knicks have dropped like a stone. 27th in the league in defensive rating. We were top 10 before Mitch went down. But still, we're still managing to kind of eke out some wins, even with that defensive rating. So when Mitch comes back, it's up and it's stuck for a lot of these teams on the defensive end. I feel like our 3-point defense will get better. Rebounding will definitely get better. Listen, last couple of games, offensive rebounding has been a problem. Today, they got 10 offensive rebounds, these Nets. And the Nets aren't known for offensive rebounds either. They got 10 today to, I think, our 6. So there's definitely some even more room for growth for this team once Mitch comes back. And shoot, there's more room to go for this team if some of these players kind of snap out of this funk, because there've been a few players who've been in the funk.